Hello everyone. This video is regarding the AWS S3, and we will see how to secure the content of the S3 using different options provided by AWS. So when I was looking into this permission section of the AWS S3, I see so many options like ACL, public bucket policies, public access settings, and all that. So these options were altogether a little bit confusing to me, so I explored it little bit, and later on I found these options very interesting. So I just wanted to share the details what I found regarding these things with you using this video. I hope you will enjoy this video. So let's start it over. So before we uh, actually try our hands on to these options, it is really um, good to understand what are these settings and why AWS provided these options for S3. So let me show you the AWS console, and let me show you something before starting up the details with these permission settings. So let me create, first of all, let me create one bucket. We will say the test bucket. We will put in the today's date. Okay. uh, I will remove the hyphen from this one. uh, I will keep the default settings. um, so the bucket is created, and here what I will do, I will add one file. Here is one image file I will upload. So yeah, I got one file over here. So if you see this file, the details of this file, if you go click on that file, if you copy this link address and if you open it in another tab, you will see access denied message. So what does it mean? So by default, every file being added to a bucket will be private. That is the default setting of the AWS. So first we will look how to make this file as publicly accessible. Okay, and then we will explore the options provided, different options provided by the AWS. Okay, so there can be multiple requirements to make a file public. Let's say if you have a file in the S3 bucket, and if you want to use that file in some different website, okay, you just wanted to display on a website homepage, or some icons is there, and if you want to access for some other website, you definitely wanted to make um, the files public. So let me to make the file public, what we have to do, we have to go to bucket, then we have to go to the file, we have to click on permission, and if you see the public access section over here, there are different sections: access for AWS account, access for other AWS account, public access. So we will not discuss here this thing, access for other AWS. First we will discuss public access. uh, in this section, public access, if you see, there are three permission: read object permission, write object permission. We will not discuss these two ACL right now. We will discuss only read objects. So to make the file public, we have to check this read object permission, and we have to save it. So if we try to save the file over here, it will give some error message saying the access is denied. So why this error message is there? So because AWS has recently introduced the public access setting options, and due to the some default values in there, it is giving the access denied. So you cannot make any file public before updating those options. Okay, so let me go to the bucket. This is the bucket, this is the permission, and if you see the permissions over here, public access setting, there are 4 permissions, and this public access setting is introduced in November 28, And what it says, it has like 4 different kind of options. 2 options for the ACL and 2 options for the bucket policy. Okay, we will look into what is ACL and what is bucket policy later on, but as we try to make the file public using the access control list, what it says is like block new public ACL and uploading public objects. It means we cannot make any file public. We tried to add new public ACL on one of the file, so it, and this option is true, that's why it blocked us. So what we have to do, we have to edit this, we have to uncheck these 2 options. I will discuss this option later on, but for now, to make this setting true, okay, let's do it. Let's check this on. Let's uncheck this, means block new public ACL and uploading new public objects. So we wanted to make one file public, that's why using the ACL we wanted to make one file public using the ACL, that's why we are unchecking this. I am saving this. I have to confirm this, and yeah, oh no, see, sometimes this happens in AWS. AWS has some bugs also. I am saving it again. Confirm. Yeah, public access settings updated successfully. So now this is false. This is false. So we can make any file public using the access control list. So what we have to do, we have to go to the file, we have to go to the permission sections, and now we can add the read object. Save. Now it is public. See, read object permission is granted. So you might be thinking that if the read object permission is granted, so this file should be publicly accessible now, right? But so let's verify it. So I'm just copying the URL of this file, I'm pasting it over here, and see, still it is saying access denied. So why is that? So to understand that, we have to again go to the bucket and permissions, and we have to check these settings. What is this? So it says the remove public access granted to public ACLs. It means whatever existing public access granted on the objects level, they should not be effective, they should be removed, right? This is what it is saying. So to make the file actually public, we have to make both of these options false. So I'm going to edit this, I'm unchecking this and saving it again. Now let's see, I updated these both options related to ACL to false. Now let's see, I just refresh this. See, I got the image. Now actually the file is made public. So let's summarize these things. Okay, so on the permission sections at the object level, we can make the object public by updating this setting, but on top of that, this setting, the ACL settings, AWS has introduced permissions on bucket level, which is called the public access settings. So these options override settings of access control lists and bucket policies. So these options is on the top of these both settings. That is, the AWS might have placed it as the first position. That could be the reason, but these options, whatever settings are defined in public setting, those settings override the settings in access control lists as well as bucket policies. So this is to ensure that you should not make any objects public accidentally. Sometimes multiple developers are working, and if, let's say, you made some object publics, right? That should not be the case. Ideally, AWS recommends that you should keep your S3 bucket and its content private. In rare cases, you want to make those things public. So to avoid such accidental things, these settings has been introduced recently. So let's discuss the bucket policy. So access control list and but that these two things are almost similar. The thing is, like, access control list was introduced initially when the S3 buckets service was launched by the AWS, and then later on they introduced a bucket policy. You can use either of these things to control the access to the buckets and its objects. But I would prefer access control list because it's GUI based. You don't have to do write policy by your own or your configure. Like, you just select the object, you make it private or public based on the on your requirements. uh, but the thing is, like, if you have less object, like 8 to 10 objects in your bucket, and not much subdirectories, then you can easily select each object and then um, edit the ACL to make it public or private. But if you have a large number of objects in the bucket, then you might uh, not consider this ACL because there is so much manual work you have to do. So instead of that, you can use the bucket policy. In the bucket policy, you have to write policy. Let me click on this. Okay, so what we will do, we will remove this setting first. We added made one object public, right? So let me select this object, let me go to permission, and let me make it private, and we will achieve the same thing using the bucket policy, okay, instead of the ACL. So I'm going to the object permission, uh, sorry, object, I'm in the bucket level permissions. I'm clicking on bucket policy. See, if you here, one second. Okay, so ACL is not coming. ACL is only I mean, bucket policy is not coming from for the object level. If you see, if I click on the permission, there is only ACL. Okay, now using the bucket policy, we just want to make this object as public. So for that, we have to go to the permission section of the bucket. We have to click on the bucket policy, and what I will do here, yeah, this is a policy I just kept over here. So what this policy will do, we have to write such kind of policy. See, okay, so here we have to give the bucket name only. We have to update. This is a ready-made policy. You have to learn all these things, what is grantee and what is principal action and all that. I am saving this. See, again it is saying access denied. Why it is saying access denied? Because of this public access setting. You see this setting, what it is saying, that block new public bucket policy. That is true. It means we cannot add new bucket policies which makes the bucket and objects public. Similar, these two settings are almost similar, but these two settings are for ACL, and similarly these two settings for the bucket policy. So as per this policy, we cannot add new bucket policy which makes the objects and buckets public. So we have to update it to false. Save. I'm just copying this thing. Okay, now bucket policies, I'm copying, sorry, I am copying it from here. I'm updating bucket name, saving it. Okay, now it's a public. Now to AWS is explicitly displaying this kind of message to make sure that that this bucket is public. If you go to the dashboard AWS S3, it should display here some kind of message, see, only authorized users of this account, and this is not public. So this kind of messages are displayed by the AWS to let you know that what kind of access these objects have. So now what should be the behavior here? see, I have bucket policy which makes all the objects public, and in the public access setting I have this false, 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 and true. The block new block public and cross account access, true. So you might be thinking that this, as we added the bucket policy to make all the objects public, this should be publicly accessible, right? But this not be the case. Access denied. As we saw the similar thing in the ACL sections, this thing is true, which is blocking the existing public bucket policy to not work. So to make it work, the existing bucket policies, public bucket policies, we have to uncheck this, we have to save it, and we have to confirm it is set. Now we should be able to access this file. See, so this is quite interesting. So the basic use of this public access setting is like whenever you have multiple files inside a bucket, multiple objects, and you don't know on which object you set the public access, on which object you have not set any kind of access, and like thousands of files are there, and you don't you wanted to make all those files private. Then what would you do? You would update all the settings to 1. So regardless of settings in access control list and bucket policy, it will make the bucket as private. This is it. So this becomes private regardless of setting in access control list or bucket policies. So that's it. If you have any questions, you can post your comments. I would be happy to answer your questions. And thanks for watching the video.